The full moon doesn't just shine. It reflects. It casts light not only across the surface of the world, but into the hidden corners of your own inner landscape. This isn't just moonlight. It's a mirror. And some part of you already knows it. You're not simply watching the sky, you're feeling something stir beneath your skin, something ancient and strangely familiar. This night, this moment, is not ordinary. It's sacred. There is a frequency carried in this light that doesn't just illuminate, it activates. It remembers you. And when it touches the right soul at the right time, it calls something forward that words cannot explain. That trembling in your chest, the pull in your stomach, the knowing that rises without evidence, it isn't coincidence. It's recognition. A quiet confirmation that something inside you is awakening right on time. Not everyone feels it this way. Some will simply admire the beauty. Others will move on, unaffected. But there are those, like you, who feel it deeper. For whom this moon doesn't just rise in the sky, it rises through the spirit. A personal summons. A soft but undeniable invitation to return to what you've always carried but haven't yet named. If this message touches something in you, if you feel it rather than just hear it, leave a word in the comments, just one. It doesn't have to be profound. It just has to be real. And if your spirit knows that what's unfolding here isn't content but a call, then subscribe. Because this isn't just another video. This is a remembering. And you were never meant to remember alone. There are nights when the moon doesn't just rise, it turns its gaze toward you. And in that light, something begins to unravel. You may look up expecting beauty, stillness, maybe comfort. But this moon has other plans. It doesn't just light the outside world. It reflects the one within you. The full moon is a mirror. And under its glow, nothing can hide, not even from yourself. This light doesn't force. It reveals. And what it reveals is not new, it's what's been waiting. Repressed feelings, old heartbreaks, buried emotions, fragments of memory that never fully healed. They begin to rise. Not like a storm. More like steam from a body that's finally warming back to life. You don't always recognize them at first. You just feel off. Heavier. More sensitive. Quieter inside but louder somehow too. These aren't just mood swings. They're signals. Indicators that something deep beneath the surface has decided it's time. Wounds resurface not to shame you, but to be seen. Not to hurt you, but to release the weight they've carried in silence. And when the moon reflects them back, it doesn't do it with judgment. It does it with clarity. Gentle, unflinching, holy clarity. The kind that says, you don't need to carry this anymore. But you do need to see it before it goes. This is where the real mirror begins, when it's no longer just about what's within, but about what surrounds you. Because under this moon, the people around you become reflections too. You start to see yourself in others more clearly, their tenderness triggers your own softness, their distance awakens your loneliness, their frustration mirrors the places you've gone numb. The world around you turns into a living oracle, showing you through every interaction what still needs your attention. The friend who suddenly grows cold. The partner who becomes too much. The stranger whose gaze lingers longer than expected. The family member who pulls you into an old pattern. These aren't random events. They are reflections, each one, a shard of the larger mirror. Each one inviting you to notice what you project, what you absorb, what you still hold that no longer belongs. And the mirror doesn't only show pain. It shows power too. You may also feel seen in new ways. Recognized. Magnetized. The light not only exposes what hurts, it highlights what's sacred. What's real. What's always been waiting for your permission to shine. The parts of you that were once hidden begin to call for space. Your voice. Your truth. Your presence. But it can be disorienting, this kind of exposure. The lines between you and others blur. Between past and present, between what's yours and what's been inherited. Emotions rise without narrative. Tears come without memory. You may not know why. That's because this isn't about explanation. It's about reflection. About seeing clearly, without distortion, for the first time in a long while. The full moon doesn't just offer insight. It offers confrontation. It brings you to the doorway of your own truth and waits. Not with force, but with intensity. And in that moment, it's not about how much you know. It's about how willing you are to witness. To look into the mirror it holds up and not turn away. To see the version of you that has been hidden beneath expectations, masks, and survival strategies, and to allow that version to speak. This is why the moon doesn't just illuminate, it transforms. Because what is seen can finally be released. What is felt can finally be healed. And what is remembered can finally be reclaimed. You don't need to analyze every reflection. You don't need to solve every emotion. All that's asked of you is to stay open to what the mirror reveals. To pause before you react. To notice what's rising without trying to label it too quickly. Because this kind of clarity, the kind that comes when the soul is seen, isn't always gentle. But it is always sacred. Let the mirror show you. Let it unmask you. Let it soften what's been hardened and illuminate what's been hidden. This isn't just about letting go. It's about finally seeing what you've been carrying. And when you see it, really see it, something in you will shift, because the truth, when reflected in full light, cannot stay buried. There are moments when truth doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't knock gently. It rises, suddenly, unmistakably, like light flooding a room that's been dark for too long. This is what happens under the peak of full moon energy. There is no gradual warm-up, no polite lead-in. Just light. Everywhere. And with it, everything you've tucked away, silenced, or convinced yourself no longer matters, begins to stir. You might find yourself crying without warning. Not because anything is wrong, but because something is finally moving. You may feel a wave of emotion around something small, something that would have passed unnoticed just days ago. Or you might suddenly realize something your soul has known for years, but that your mind had kept quiet, hidden beneath logic, fear, or timing. It all rises now. Not to overwhelm you, but to be seen. The full moon does not require you to fix anything. That's not its role. It is not a mechanic, it is a spotlight. And its light is not always comfortable, but it is always honest. It shows you what you've avoided. It reveals the places in your life where you've been pretending, compromising, holding back. And in this light, pretending becomes impossible. It's not just your emotional life that's affected, it's your spiritual clarity. The stories you've been telling yourself start to unravel. The excuses you've made for others begin to wear thin. The habits that once comforted you now feel suffocating. Something inside you knows it can't continue the way it has. That knowing doesn't always come with words, it comes with a shift. A moment when what was once tolerable becomes too heavy to hold for one more day. This is what happens when the full moon places you under its spiritual spotlight. You're not being exposed to be judged. You're being invited to see. To witness. To tell the truth, not just to others, but to yourself. To admit what's not working. To feel what's been dulled. To name what's ready to change. And to do all of that without rushing to make it tidy or presentable. Under this kind of light, honesty becomes magnetic. You're drawn to realness. Your tolerance for shallow conversation, performative behavior, or energetic masks begins to drop. You crave depth. You notice the truth in people's eyes. You feel the friction of every lie, even the small ones. Not because you're becoming harsh, but because your field is becoming refined. You are calibrating to clarity. And that means you may also feel raw. Open. Exposed. It can be uncomfortable to sit in the presence of truth, especially when you're not trying to run from it. The full moon doesn't create that discomfort. It simply removes the distractions that allowed you to ignore it. And now, with nothing blocking your view, you're left with what's real. What's unfiltered. What's been waiting. This kind of truth is rarely about information. It's about frequency. You don't always need words to understand what's happening. You just feel it. You feel it in your gut, your chest, your breath. In the way your body responds to what's no longer aligned. In the way silence begins to speak louder than noise. You may feel like pulling away from the world. Not because you're broken, but because you're being brought into alignment. You may feel the urge to cleanse, to speak, to write, to cry, to confess something you've kept buried. These impulses are sacred. They are the body's way of processing what the spirit has already illuminated. There is nothing wrong with you for feeling too much right now. In fact, it may be the first time in a long time that you're feeling exactly what's true. Don't rush to fix it. Don't shrink it. Let it move through you. Let it show you. Because this spotlight doesn't shine forever. It comes in sacred cycles. And when it does, those who are willing to see, really see, are given a rare gift, the chance to step into truth without delay. This is the power of the full moon when you meet it fully awake. It doesn't speak in riddles. It speaks in clarity. In revelation. And in that clarity, something begins to shift, not outside of you, but from the very center of who you are. Not everyone feels the full moon the same way. For some, it's just a moment in the sky, a glowing orb to admire, a symbol of beauty or mystery. But for others, it's more than that. It's a signal. A stirring. A silent yet undeniable call that moves beneath thought, beneath reason. If you're one of those who feels the moon in your body, in your dreams, in the stillness of night like something is watching or waiting, you're not imagining it. You're wired for this. Some souls are born with ancient memory encoded deep within them. They carry frequencies, soul codes, that sleep until the right moment, the right trigger, the right light. And the full moon, at its peak, in its fullness, is one of those moments. A celestial key, turning silently in a lock that exists not outside you, but inside. It doesn't ask. It activates. And suddenly, you feel everything more intensely. The world becomes louder. Dreams more vivid. Silence more meaningful. Emotion more electric. Time seems to stretch or bend. And you can't explain why. But your spirit knows. This isn't new. This is ancient. You felt it before, even if you didn't have the language for it. Maybe as a child, you looked up at the moon and felt a longing you couldn't name. Maybe there were nights you couldn't sleep and didn't know it was lunar light pulling something forward in you. Maybe you've always felt a little out of sync with the rest of the world, more sensitive, more aware, more attuned to the invisible. That's not a flaw. That's a design. Because some souls were marked long before this lifetime began. And I heard the number of those who were sealed, Revelation 7 verse 4. The ancient ones knew. Certain souls walk with an energetic seal, not to elevate them above others, but to prepare them for what only they can hear. And when the frequency aligns, when the conditions are right, that seal doesn't just protect, it awakens. It begins to hum. And the moonlight doesn't just glow, it speaks. You may not know what you're being called to. You may not understand what's being activated. But the sensation is unmistakable. A feeling of urgency. A whisper beneath your thoughts. A subtle shift in your chest, as though something long asleep is stretching awake. You are not broken. You are not overwhelmed. You are being summoned. Not by external force, but by your own encoded truth, responding to a signal written into the stars. These activations are not dramatic. They are deep. Quiet. Internal. You may feel the need to pull away from distraction. You may crave solitude, find yourself suddenly more emotional, more reflective, more honest with yourself than usual. That's not moodiness. That's alignment. That's your system preparing to remember something it agreed to long before this body, this name, this world. And while others may not feel it, or may dismiss it, or may even look at your sensitivity with confusion, don't shrink it. Don't dilute the signal to make yourself more digestible. You're not meant to explain your activation. You're meant to honor it. To let it unfold. To give it room to teach you, guide you, restructure you from the inside out. The full moon was never meant to just light the world. It was meant to awaken the ones who would remember. And if something in you has started to rise, not just emotionally, but spiritually, trust that it's not random. It's not late. And it's not too much. It's precisely timed. It's encoded. And it's yours. This isn't about being chosen in a way that excludes others. It's about responding to a memory inside you that refuses to stay silent. A memory that knows, this is the moment. This is the light. And this is why you've always felt a little different, because you are. And now, you're not just feeling the moon. You're becoming the message it came to deliver. There are nights when you can't explain what's happening inside you. Nothing seems wrong, and yet, you can't settle. The world feels quiet, but your inner world pulses with something you can't name. You try to sleep, but your chest feels heavy, your mind alert. You shift. You breathe. But still, something lingers, like a presence, like a pressure, like a pull. This isn't insomnia. This isn't anxiety. This is the calling. And your soul knows it. Even when the words haven't come, your body already knows. The signals are subtle but unmistakable, a sudden stillness, a tension in your shoulders, a soft ache in the chest, a quickening heartbeat that arrives in perfect silence. The signs show up in your dreams, too. Faces you don't know but feel familiar. Symbols that stir something deep in your memory. Conversations that seem to come from somewhere beyond language. You wake up not confused, but full, as if you've been somewhere real. This isn't random sensitivity. It's not emotional overload. This is your soul responding to a frequency beyond the visible world. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are remembering. The full moon doesn't just light the sky. It unlocks things. It opens a portal within your personal journey that can't be activated at any other time. It shines into the hidden parts of you, the gifts, the vows, the purposes you've forgotten. And when the light touches that code, you feel it not as information, but as knowing. An ancient familiarity moves through your system. And you realize, this feeling isn't new. It's been waiting. There's a reason you're awake while others sleep. A reason you feel emotional while others carry on. A reason you're pulled to solitude, stillness, or silence while the world spins with noise. You are not out of sync. You are in rhythm with something older than time. This is how remembrance begins. Not through a flash of clarity, but through a slow awakening. A sensation that grows inside you until it becomes undeniable. And still, you may not be able to explain it. That's okay. The calling doesn't come in language. It comes in feeling. It comes in the way your heart starts beating differently when you hear certain words. In the way your hands tingle when you stand under the sky. In the way your breath deepens when something resonates, not in your head, but in your bones. You might feel the urge to withdraw from others, not because you don't love them, but because the noise of the world becomes too sharp when the soul is tuning into something higher. You may become less interested in performing or pleasing. You may find yourself sitting longer in silence, staring at the moon, asking questions without needing answers. These aren't symptoms of disconnection. They are evidence of spiritual alignment. They're how the soul creates space for something new to come in. There is no script for this. No checklist. No instruction manual. You are stepping into something wild and ancient. Something uniquely tailored to your frequency. And while the journey may feel lonely at times, it's never isolated. Because what's calling you is not external, it's what you planted inside yourself long before this lifetime began. Maybe this moon is waking up the mission you came here to remember. Maybe it's unsealing the promise you made when your soul chose this body, this time, this path. Maybe that ache in your chest isn't grief, it's recognition. Maybe the tears aren't pain, they're release. A washing away of everything that once kept you from hearing your own truth clearly. You don't have to name the calling to honor it. You only need to stay present with it. Let it move through your body. Let it guide your attention. Let it show you what's ready to rise. Because what's surfacing now is not some passing feeling. It's the echo of your deeper self, knocking softly, asking to be let back in. When you follow that feeling, even without knowing where it leads, you begin to walk a different path. One that doesn't need validation to be true. One that doesn't require understanding to be sacred. One that lives in the liminal, the intuitive, the deeply personal. This is not the calling to be louder. It's the calling to be real. So if you're feeling it, if something in you is awake tonight when the world is asleep, know that you're not restless. You're remembering. And the full moon is not just shining overhead. It's reaching into you, lighting the way forward from within. There is a moment in every awakening where the instinct to run collides with the invitation to stay. Not in place, but in presence. Not to freeze, but to witness. This full moon does not come to overwhelm you, though it may feel intense. It comes to reveal. And what it reveals isn't punishment. It's promise. It's what's been waiting to be seen, quietly, patiently, beneath all the noise, the roles, the survival. You may feel the pull to avoid it. To distract yourself. To retreat into numbness or busyness or silence that isn't sacred but defensive. That's okay. That's natural. When truth rises in the body, when emotion pushes at the edge of what you can contain, the reflex is almost always to flee. But this time, this night, there is something deeper asking you to stay. To turn toward the thing that makes you ache. To look at what you've been avoiding not with fear, but with reverence. This is not a time for solutions. It's not about fixing, correcting, improving. It's about witnessing. Allowing what is to simply be. To rise. To breathe. To move through. When you stop trying to manage your experience and simply be with it, healing begins. Not because you forced it, but because you made space for it. The full moon illuminates not just the beauty of the world but the complexity of your own being. And when that light touches the places you've buried, denied, or minimized, you may feel the weight of what's there. Grief that has been waiting for acknowledgement. Rage that was never safe to express. Love you never let yourself fully feel. These are not mistakes. They are memory. They are medicine. They are invitations. And the greatest thing you can offer in return is presence. To stand in the light, not proudly, not perfectly, but honestly. To say, this is where I am. This is what's alive in me. This is what hurts. This is what's rising. No more pretending. No more fleeing. Just breath. Just truth. Just now. There is profound power in not turning away. In sitting with the discomfort long enough to understand it has something to say. Because all pain carries a message. All sadness holds a seed. And when you stop running, you begin to hear it. Not with your ears, but with your spirit. And what you hear will not destroy you. It will reveal you. This night is not here to punish you with memory. It's here to liberate what has been trapped. You are not being forced into confrontation. You are being offered reflection, sacred, piercing, exact. Not to shame you. To free you. When you witness yourself without judgment, the energy begins to shift. The body begins to soften. The emotion that once gripped you begins to move. Not because you wrestled it into submission, but because you allowed it. Because you stopped needing it to be different, and let it be what it is. And in that space, healing is no longer something you chase, it becomes something that meets you. This moon is not just about what you're seeing. It's about how you're seeing it. With compassion. With clarity. With the kind of honesty that does not wound, but cleanses. You are not too much for this process. You are the perfect vessel for it. Because only you can meet your truth in this exact way. Only you can hold your story with the tenderness it deserves. So stay. Witness. Breathe. Let the reflection do its work. Let the emotion rise and fall like tide. Let the ache speak. Let the silence answer. You are not collapsing. You are expanding into more truth than you've ever allowed yourself to carry. And yes, it may feel like too much, but that's only because for so long, you've carried too little of your own truth. This moon doesn't ask you to perform. It doesn't need your strength. It asks only this: don't look away. Because what you see now, what you feel now, is the beginning of remembering who you really are. If this full moon feels like more than a phase in the sky, if something in you stirred before you even understood why, it's because it was never just about the sky. It was always about you. This moment is not random. It's personal. And if you felt seen, moved, or shaken by this light, it's not a sign that you're too sensitive. It's a sign that you're being activated. You weren't meant to move through this night untouched. You weren't meant to simply admire the beauty of the moon and move on. You were meant to feel it. To absorb it. To remember something in your spirit that cannot be found in books, conversations, or timelines. This moon didn't arrive to entertain. It arrived to reflect. And what it reflects is the truth of who you are beneath all you've carried. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to what has always been inside you. The knowing. The clarity. The voice that was never truly gone, only quiet, only waiting. The full moon doesn't introduce the sacred. It reminds you of it. It amplifies the signal you've been ignoring. It turns your gaze inward until you recognize that what's rising isn't just emotion, it's alignment. So if something in this message reached you, lingered in your chest, made your breath catch or your skin feel electric, let that be enough. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to understand every piece. You just need to honor the feeling. That is the language of the soul. That is the moment when remembrance begins. If you're feeling the pull, let it be known. Drop a word in the comments, just one. I feel it is enough. And if something in this speaks to the path you know you're on, even if you can't yet describe it, subscribe. These are not random videos. These are transmissions meant for those who are waking up on time. And if you're here, that means you are. And you're not walking this alone.